Well, I have no idea whether a corporate retreat is exciting or not. I mean, I guess if they have some luxury things going on for you, I guess it could be okay. But this is horror, and we know this is probably not going to be ending well and have very little luxury to it. So let's find out exactly what is going on here. With the IMDb plot, corporate executives on a team building retreat face a deadly struggle when their leader turns violently against them. All right, so yeah, this is horror, so this retreat is not going to be fun. All right, so I I want to start by saying, do I want to be spoiler free or not? Um, I guess you can kind of gather, what is happening here, somewhat, especially if you've seen the trailer. So, I think, it's not a huge hidden thing about who the killer is here. That person is introduced, maybe midway into the film. So he's not really important as far as being a huge twist or whatever. So I'm going to mention that. So just to let you know that, just in case that kind of annoys you if you've not seen the film or not. Other than that, I think there might be a minor twist or turn in it here and there, but I if you're a horror fan and you're paying attention, I think you'll spot it. It's not really that big of a deal, but I'll leave that out. Nothing huge. So just to kind of set the stage here. Otherwise, we're pretty self-explanatory here. We have a group of people here. They work for a company. One of them has kind of arranged this trip. Apparently, this is something that they've done before. As a kind of younger group of executives, not too many older executives here. And they go to this, really nice house. I guess that's a luxury part of it. So, you might be thinking, oh, well, when they're not doing these team building exercises or whatever, waste of time. Maybe they can enjoy the house, maybe the pool, relax, whatever, and enjoy, something else. I mean, I guess if they're corporate executives, maybe they have nice homes too, so maybe it doesn't really matter. I don't know. But, at least, maybe they can have some downtime. One of them seems to have brought his girlfriend along, who is not part of this corporation, but very familiar with it, but, maybe they can have some downtime. I don't know. But, just as they kind of get into the corporate things, obviously things go south. The individuals that are kind of throwing or going through these exercises kind of turn on them and kind of, now force them into a different kind of team building exercise, or maybe not even team building, basically team building for yourself, because you're now your team, because you now have to survive. So, as this kind of turns for the worst, like I said, I'm going to say, who's behind this. We get introduced to, I guess, the guy who used to be the CEO of whatever corporation it is that, all these people are a part of. And let's just say he didn't take it kindly to not being the CEO, and I guess felt betrayed and so forth, whatever. So now he kind of wants, revenge on these individuals, or at least to put them through some trials and tribulations here in a painful way, to kind of get back at them, but also to maybe see if any of them can survive. And there's some kind of like weird, maybe kind of philosophy behind all this. I don't know if it's something, I think it's something like he kind of created or whatever, blah, blah. So it's almost like not only do they have to, go through this to survive, but it's to also get enlightened, or some kind of weird, kind of religious undertone that he's kind of created or whatever, to be, I guess, in a better place and so forth. So that's kind of tied in as well in a weird way. So you can kind of think of it in a way, is we're kind of going into maybe a Saw-like scenario where we have a group of people that, kind of have to work together, but also in a singular way, or have to go through, different tasks in order to survive. Um, and, it's going to be a series of stages and whatever. And like I said, the individuals who are there are kind of, making and forcing these people, the executives, to go through it, while this guy is basically watching on a screen until that kind of changes later on. And then obviously we will see, who survives or not. Obviously there's conversation about what happened, and obviously, one of the people here is one of the executives that's now taken over the company. So you get some interaction, some between the employees, and especially this guy and the CEO, about what happened and feelings and that forth, whatever. But at the end of the day, this is horror, and this is, the way we go. So obviously certain executives are going to be picked off and just, I guess, lose whatever challenges they're going to get until the numbers go down and down and down, and then we have the conclusion to see if anybody survives or not. Kind of standard stuff. I mean, like I said, if you're a horror fan, I think, as this movie kind of starts and goes on, you're going to follow pretty easy what's happening here. So what is that to say about this movie? Okay, so there is some blood and guts moments here. Obviously, that I like that, so that is all right. Kind of enjoy that. It doesn't, hugely go, I mentioned Saw, but is really like, just kind of in that, being a group of people that, kind of have to survive something kind of way. But as far as like the pain and the challenges and like all that kind of stuff, it is nowhere near that. As a matter of fact, I don't know if they do it just to prove that the old executive that's doing all this is just nuts to begin with, or what. But some of the challenges, especially the first couple, are just terrible. I mean, they're just not good. I guess the one kind of seemed like it was a little complicated because one of them, had to figure out like to put some chemicals together in order to survive them because they were poisoned and whatever. So, I guess that was a touch, thoughtful and complicated. But then there's another one where basically, they had to laugh. And if they didn't seem like they were laughing honestly or in a certain way, they could be killed just for not laughing correctly, which just seemed really stupid. Like, I don't know. Like, if I saw that maybe in a short, I'd have been like, okay, well, this is short, so, we're going to do that or whatever. But for, a full-length horror movie to do something so whatever and that, again, maybe it's to show the ridiculousness of this ex-CEO and how crazy he has become, maybe. But that seems really stupid. And then to almost kind of take it to a different extreme where you basically have to take your eye out. That was another game that they had to play, which, in itself, I don't know the ratio of people who take their eyes out, especially on your own, obviously without, not a surgery operation, just basically take a spoon, stick it in your eye and pull it out. Does that kill you? Does that not kill you? Like, what is the pain tolerance there and that kind of thing? To see several people kind of do that and for the majority kind of survive that and then just be like, ow, and then continue on. Like, I don't know. I don't know how that makes much sense. But again, this is horror. We've seen people be stabbed and cut and broken bones and all kinds of stuff, and you wonder how they're still moving. So we'll let that kind of slide. But again, seemed a little ridiculous after following especially a game where they're just going to laugh. So So yeah, so I'm not gonna say I was overall impressed largely by the so-called games or tasks that these people, people had to do in order to survive. I thought it was pretty weak, and as far as I've seen, several of these movies where a group of people have had to survive in one way or what others, and maybe in a group, and obviously as it does that, usually one person doesn't survive per round, and whatever. And we've seen this kind of movie before, and not even saw in other movies as well. And some of these were probably some of the worst challenges or weakest challenges that I can remember seeing in a movie. Again, just because they're playing on that this guy is just kind of nuts in a different way or what, I don't know. And then as far as, I'm going to say without, again, I said gave away some stuff. I'm just going to say, like, overall, where you see the movie going and when you see the characters presented, I think early on, you almost, if you're paying attention, I mean, not that maybe you want to pay attention, I don't know, you pretty much early on know who is going to be, making it to the end. I mean, it is fairly obvious. And I think that also takes away, some of what's happening here. As who is you kind of develop the order of who you think is going to be the last standing, and then who the last standing might be. And then when it happens, you're just kind of like, yeah, okay, well, who didn't see that coming? I'm not, the biggest, solver of mysteries in some of these horror movies and so forth. Especially, I guess, on the other side when you have to figure out who the killer was. Not the biggest, crime solver in that respect. Been wrong many a time, but as far as being survivals, I mean, obviously in some movies it's fairly obvious. Could be based on whoever the actor is, and whatever. Obviously, who the story seems to follow, but I don't know. It just seemed like so obvious. Like, you have a group of people, most of these actors you might not have seen before, so maybe you're not saying, they kind of spread the wealth a little bit as when they kind of introduce everybody. Maybe they lean a little bit in one direction, so maybe that is a tip-off. But overall, you just kind of know, and you kind of know with some of the conversation that happens early on and whatever. And so it's kind of like, like, okay. So yeah, I'm going to say, when I kind of saw this movie, introduced that, I'm pretty sure he did something for promote, a press release or whatever. I had, kind of hopes of, big time slaughtering kind of stuff. And I forget the name. There was another movie that I think might have been last year around this time. That was kind of in a, let's just say, an office kind of setting and whatever. And I guess things went wrong and people died and so forth. And that was a little bit more bloodshed and kind of craziness and whatever. And I thought maybe that this movie was going to be as well. And, we've seen other movies that have been, maybe, office themed or that and so forth, or based on a group of people that worked with each other and it's gone wrong. And those movies have been, decent, or at least had some decent bloodshed. But just the level of ridiculousness here and some of the stuff that's done, I don't know. I'm all for, eye gouging is fine, but, like, I don't know, it just seemed ridiculous. I don't know. And, maybe just wanted a little bit more in terms of the bloodshed and the blood and the guts and so forth. So, I think it was a letdown in that respect. Just kind of looking at it here. Yeah, and like about 600 ratings here on IMDb and a 3.7 out of 10. Awfully rough there as well. So yeah, I'm going to probably be definitely in that camp. and so forth. And maybe give this one probably 1.5 pools of blood, just because it had some death and some blood, and okay, an eye gouge here or there, whatever. um, but yeah, definitely not thrilled with what could have happened and what happened, and just some of the challenges that were just seemed super weak, and like I don't even know. They tried to drum up a little bit of the dramatics towards the end, but again, I think if you followed along, and I could see if you fell off at some point of this movie and you're just like maybe staring into oblivion or starting to do other stuff if you're watching this movie or whatever, maybe missed a conversation or two, maybe you missed what was going to, or what was set up to happen in the end, but it was definitely set up if you're paying attention. So really, while there might supposedly be a small, like I said, twist or turn here, if you're paying attention, it really is no twist. You kind of know where this is headed in the direction, and who is headed in that direction. So yeah, because of like all of that, the lack of surprise there as well. And I'm pretty sure that some of you are going to be annoyed by some of the acting as well. So I'm not going to say it greatly annoyed me as some of the other movies and so forth. I guess it was more about, I guess the story here and how it unfolded annoyed me more than the acting. So yeah, I'm going to give it 1.5 pools of blood. And a lot of that pools of blood is just because, people did die and there was a little bit of blood. Otherwise, yeah, nothing else happening here. So that'll be 1.5 out of 5. And with that, horrorsquarereviews.blogspot.com is where you can find all of my reviews, written in video. Certainly tons of video reviews for a while now, so you can like, subscribe, and do everything else that everybody does here on YouTube. If not, no worries, it's okay. I thank you for your time regardless. Blue Sky and Facebook information down below, so you can join me there. Talk horror and enjoy some of the stuff that we do otherwise. Also here on YouTube or there. And definitely in the comment section if for some reason you did like the movie and so forth, or you did think that, laughing made a great challenge, please feel free to tell me. We'll go with it and take it from there. So with that, I'll catch you on the next review, horror fans.